Alright, so recently I learned how to juggle. I tried to juggle when I was a kid and it wasn't happening. Um, Back then we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have any kind of instructional videos, and I sure didn't have friends in the carnival or the circus or anywhere, Cirque du Soleil, you know, contrary to what some of you may think. And recently I had a friend come into town, and I thought, hey, what a great opportunity to learn something new together. You know, mutual firsts are always fun to look back on. And I picked up 2 canisters of racquetballs. I thought, hey, you know, if we both learn to juggle, awesome. We're both going to start at the same level of ability, not being able to juggle. $4 investment for a set of racquetballs. Now, I also pulled up a video on how to juggle. There's a fellow out of Holland, Netherlands, that is a world champion juggler, and he has put together some instructional videos on how to juggle. So I pulled that up, and you know, a little after trying by myself, but I didn't know what I was doing at all, and I was trying to figure it out just by, you know, what makes sense. And one of the biggest problems with juggling to begin with is you're not trying to, you know, hit yourself in the head with the balls. Instinctually, you're trying to back away from these balls, no matter how heavy or hard they are. I mean, these things aren't going to hurt you, but when you've got something in your face, you're backing off. And so what I don't know if they call it traveling forward or something like that. And as you're throwing the balls up, they progressively go forward, and then they're out of your reach, and you're done. You know, they hit the ground. So I wasn't having any luck with 3, and I watched his video. And he said, well, what you do is you just start with 1, all right? And you get a feel for the ball traveling between your left and your right hand, all right? And because your dominant hand, that's what you're going to start with, 2 balls, and then your non-dominant hand with 1, all right? And your dominant hand is going to have strength, and your instinctual ability to do things with your dominant hand just comes natural. But anything that you're going to do, unless you're absolutely ambidextrous, it's not going to be intuitive. So you've got to get a feeling of what it takes to put that non-dominant hand to work. All right. So what was remarkable is within the first couple of hours of trying to juggle, I actually was able to start juggling. All right. And you know, there's a lot of ways to do it wrong. There's a variety of ways to do it right. And all I'm doing is just your basic cascade. I found another video where this guy is doing a lot of different tricks. There's like 30 different juggling style tricks with 3 balls. And I haven't started working on that at all. But I was able to get a beginning to juggling down. Through a club that I attended that does magic, a gentleman that I met told me about a juggling club. And so at the very next availability, I attended that juggling club and learned a whole lot more. You know, and I showed up with my racquetballs thinking, hey, all right, you know what? I am juggling. I am officially a juggler. Well, these guys, they had professional juggling balls, all right? And I talked to all of them, and juggling more than 3 balls is very difficult. Since then, I bought some professional juggling balls. And instead of just buying a set of 3, I figured, you know what? I did so well in the first couple hours. How hard is it going to be for me to learn how to juggle 5? Well, it's super hard. I mean, my brain can't wrap around that. But there's an advantage to having professional juggling balls in that the racquetballs are it's cheap, it's absolutely free basically to learn how. The only thing is the balls bounce everywhere. And so that can be a little challenging. What you might want to do, and I found this on other YouTube videos, is get on your knees get in front of a wall, and that way, because you're constantly trying to travel forward, well, those balls don't have anywhere to go if there's a wall right in front of you. So they're gonna, and whenever they do, invariably hit the floor, because you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna continue to drop these balls, they're not very far to go to pick them up. Now the racket balls, they'll bounce and roll and whatnot, but if you end up getting some professional juggling balls, when they hit the ground, they're not going to go rolling, they're not going to bounce, and if you're on your knees in front of that wall, you're going to, you're just going to be able to reach down and pick them up. It's going to be a lot easier. So that's what I've been working on, and you can juggle them higher, which that's what the guy was saying with the 5 balls. He had another video on juggling 5 balls, that you have to start juggling them a lot higher. But the real challenge is when you can juggle them low, because you're constantly catching them and pitching them back up. It's good practice. But another thing that I learned at that juggling club meeting, these guys also had juggling clubs. Now, as you can see, as you can imagine, this is a lot more expensive than a $4 investment of racquetballs. These things are Zekio, all right? And the multicolored variety, they didn't have the same color as a set. I guess that's part of their sales gimmick, I don't know, so that you pay a little extra so you can get some of the same color. I was just looking to get some clubs and get started. Well, you can imagine a round ball versus a club, there is no comparison. I mean, there is a comparison, you're still juggling, but it's a lot more difficult. And I'm still learning. I basically just got these clubs not too long ago, and just a few observations that I've made, trying to start with 3 when I'm, hey, what's that? So I'm not doing too bad. I've had a little bit of practice, but what I learned was just the same thing with the dominant hand versus the non-dominant hand. Figuring out how to flip that club over and catch it in the other hand is difficult, okay? And so starting with 1, that's helpful, and then working up to 2, and you're trying, because what you're trying to do is the same pitch and flip in both hands. So your non-dominant hand and that part of your brain that controls your non-dominant hand probably has no experience, all right? So it's going to take a little bit of work. But I found that whenever I started pitching these things up simultaneously like this, that really got my brain to where I comprehended the amount of energy and effort that my non-dominant hand was going to need to put into the flip and the pitch. And really what I started doing was just doing 2 to get an idea of what needed to be done, all right? And that's a lot easier. There's a lot less to think about. And you could, I still screw up a lot. But 3, you're thinking about the flip, you're thinking, and you've got 3 things that you're thinking about, and you're thinking about, the flip and the pitch to the other hand. So 3 times 2 is 6 times 2. Those are 18 things you're thinking about simultaneously. And you're not really thinking about it, it has to come natural. And I'll tell you what, and see how the club started going forward? That's the traveling or falling forward. I can't remember the term exactly, but I am making a little bit of progress. And these things, they're not very heavy, but I guarantee if it lands like this on its end and it hits you in the face, well, it'll leave a little bit of a mark, but your brain doesn't want to get hit in the face, so you're trying to get away, and you're naturally throwing them away from yourself, and you can't catch them if you throw them away from yourself. So this is basically where I'm at right now. This is my challenge. Juggling 3 balls is not too bad. Haha. So I'm doing a lot better now, and as the videos come out, you'll see my progression is coming along. So if you think there's something you can't do, don't worry about 3. Just worry about the very basics, all right? And work up to 3.